Let's go job hunting. What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of CJ Works. We are here today with Divine Cuisine. They are specialist caterers that do all kinds of events. So at the moment, I'm going to be working with them at a funeral wake to serve some food, get things set up, and I don't know what else to expect, but there's a lot of reggae music coming from there. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, so a little bit confused. We're at the Irish Centre, so I don't know if this is going to be an Irish funeral or people just rent out this facility, but very much looking forward to it, and let's go job hunting. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Bro. Thank you for having me here.
No worries at all, man. Our pleasure.
So, Roger, can you tell me what made you want to start your own business?
To be fair, I've always kind of grown up with the mindset that every individual has a skill that they can monetize. So it was all about learning my craft. I worked in hotels, restaurants for about, I don't know, maybe about 10, 12 years. And then I spent a good time working at the ICC in Birmingham, and then the thing that kind of drove me to working for myself was the fact that we'd be doing functions. I'd see the function in action, and I knew that there was quite a bit of money exchanging hands. People were paying like 20, 30, 40 pounds a head for these meals. We're cooking the food, and I'm getting peanuts at the end of the day. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to start doing this for myself. And so slowly but surely, I started my own business.
And how did you go about starting the business then? Because I know you're here now, you've got your clients and whatever, people obviously refer you, word of mouth, but how did you start that process?
What it was, I hooked up with a small banqueting organisation who were based in Birmingham. Where were we at the time? Selly Oak.
Okay.
Based in Selly Oak. And what I did was all of their in-house functions, I would do it for them. But the only downside of that was that they had like a running club, and I had to provide food 2 nights a week for the running club as a part of the contract. And I was making no money. I was going home. I remember my missus at the time saying to me, you know, you're coming home smelling of oil. You're not making no money. But it was part of the contract, so I had to do the both. But the good thing about it was I was getting their functions every other Saturday, and that was sort of building up clientele. Okay. So I took it from there, and that was my starting point, and we just built it out from there.
And what made you want to go into catering in particular?
To be honest with you, I've always had a fascination with cooking. I grew up in a large family. There's 8 of us, and the rest of my brothers weren't interested in cooking, but I was always interested in cooking for some reason. So I used to watch my mom cook, and I just had a love for food, and it just developed from there, really. Left school, and I basically went straight to catering college and got straight into it from there. So I've been doing this for maybe nearly 40 years now.
Wow.
Near enough.
What sort of things did you learn at catering college then?
Catering college teaches you the basics. It teaches you all the sort of French cuisine. That's the main thrust of going to catering college. It shows you all the sort of different knife cuts and not knife cuts, the different sort of vegetable cuts and how to handle knives and just the basic cookery skills, basic culinary skills. You learn basic French cuisine at catering college, so it gives you a good grounding as you spring on from there. And I always say to people that it's always good to know to do, like, if you specialize in whatever you specialize in, but it's always good to know the basics of how to cook. Because once you know how to cook, you can incorporate any cuisine. And
so we're here today. We're going to be serving obviously a funeral wake. What sorts of things can I expect? Or is every situation different?
Well, I think when it comes to Afro-Caribbean funeral wakes, the type of food and cuisine that you're going to get are very, very much the same. If I did another one of these in 5 weeks' time, the food is going to be literally the same. You get your curry goats and your rice and peas and your fish and your fried chicken and barbecue chicken and all that sort of stuff. So, every culture, I think, has basic types of food that they will eat on a regular basis. If you go to an Asian function, they will have certain foods that they will eat at most Asian functions. Slight twists, differing from caterer to caterer, but you generally know what you're going to get at an Afro-Caribbean sort of funeral wake. Yeah.
So do you specialize in Afro-Caribbean food?
Well, I think the way the business has developed, yes, it has become a speciality of mine, but I like to think that I'm quite able to cover most cuisines, hence the coming from the background that I've come from in terms of restaurants and hotels and so forth.
Okay. And so do people request the food they want from you, or do you have a set menu that you work from?
Either or. Sometimes we go with set menus. Sometimes people have bespoke menus, especially for weddings and things like that. It kind of varies from weddings. But as I said earlier, in terms of the funeral wakes, that's basically the same. But for weddings and other different functions, you can have different types of food. Yeah.
Okay. And so you mentioned you saw that people were doing this type of work and they were charging X, Y, and Z. How did you decide, or what have been some of the challenges for you starting up the business, and growing the business? What have been some of the pain points?
Well, I think the initial challenge was making enough money to live. I had, when I first started, I had quite young kids at the time, and that was the initial challenge, just making sure I had enough money to live. So when I first started, I would still be doing a little bit of freelance work in the hotels, restaurants and so forth, just to make sure I had my bills covered whilst I was building up the business. But as the business began to grow, I did less and less of that and more of what I wanted to do. So there was a transition really from one point to another, doing other things as well as the business, until purely coming into doing just the business on its own. So, after about maybe 5-6 years, the business just became self-sufficient, and I've been self-sufficient ever since, not having to rely or to work for anybody else. That's always been my plan, never to work for anybody else again.
And what was the reason for that? Why didn't you want to work for anyone? Was it just your mindset?
Growing up, especially working in restaurants and hotels, that you was never paid according to your abilities. So no matter how good you were, you were just paid a certain amount of money, and then you was always denied the opportunities to sort of progress in the way that you wanted to. I always felt I was worthy to be a head chef in a reasonable organization, but again, the opportunity never came. There was always, I felt, a bias against us as black guys, black chefs, and so I thought, you know what, if they want to try and cap my salary, I'm getting out of here. There'll be no cap on my salary. Basically.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so for someone, I wouldn't say, my wife wouldn't say that I'm an amazing cook, but I've been looking at the cookbooks and I'm getting there. But for someone who was, trying to get into this line of work, and maybe we're experiencing similar challenges to you, what would you kind of say to them?
I'd say to them to, first of all, to kind of familiarize, if they have an interest in food, just familiarize themselves with, not just with any particular food, just familiarize yourself with food in general, and just experiment at home, try different flavors, try different sauces, try a bit of this, try a bit of that, just be experimental in what you're doing, and I think you kind of then sort of get a feel for it, and then just branch out from there. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so I guess the final point then, where do you see your business going in the next year?
Well, in the next year or so, I personally am looking to take a step back from the actual day-to-day involvement in the actual day-to-day cooking. I have a good team who work with me, and I'm trying to sort of get to a point where I have enough staff to manage the business so that I can take a step back and just overall be the overall sort of manager of everything that's going on, without the day-to-day stuff getting involved and doing the day-to-day sort of manual work. Yeah, that's what I'm looking to do in the next year or so. Yeah.
Okay, and
as I said earlier, I've been doing this like 20 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to that age now where the knees are starting to go. So and I feel it the next day. So I need to just take a step back. Yeah.
And so brilliant. And so today then we're here, we're getting ready for people to come in and obviously celebrate the life of the individual who has passed. What do you hope that people feel when eating your food?
Well, the first and the thing that gives you the most pleasure is to when people come up to you at the end of the day and say, listen, everybody's enjoyed the food. Everybody's talking about the food. And it's the best form of advertising to know that somebody's enjoyed something, and there's going to be 150 people there, so that's 150 people who will advertise your business as long as the food is good. So we have a reasonable reputation. Well, we have a good reputation. I was being a bit modest there. We've got a good reputation, and we just try to uphold that at all times. It's always about customer service, making sure the food is right, and making sure the customer's happy at the end of the day.
Amazing. Well, I won't keep any more of your time. Let's get to work then. Okay, we're done. That was an absolute, I don't even know what the word is right now. I'm like a bit overwhelmed because every time you think you're at the end, you look to your right and there's a whole queue of people waiting for food. Yeah, it's a full day's work, you know. I haven't done anything like this before, so it's definitely an experience, and I hope I've done Divine caterers proud. Did my best. I'll probably get the review from you guys to see how I did. Plenty of salad and coleslaw left. I think the servers are helping themselves to food now, so yeah, very much well deserved. So I've just finished serving the coleslaw and the salad, as you will have seen. Now it might not look like much when you're just watching it on the screen, but it's I've never done anything like this before, so it's I think the mental fatigue, because you've got to continue obviously smiling, and I think there was the additional pressure because of course it's a funeral, so I'm very conscious that I don't want to mess things up. Of course, emotions might be running high for people as well, so you just want to make sure that you've got a smile on your face and you're not kind of letting that overwhelm come across to people. I think for me, one of the main things was, you know, you've got your head down, you're looking at the coleslaw, the salad, you see probably about 3 people on your right, and you think, okay, yeah, get in there now, we you know, all right, Dan, you know, get ready to pack your bags are out, but then you look to your right and there's a whole conveyor belt of people coming down again, so that was very much kind of the thing, because it just felt like it was never going to end. And of course, you know, I mean, there was a little I think something happened next to me, somebody wanted an extra piece of chicken or something like that, but I think it was only 2 per person, or maybe that person didn't get the memo, so there's a little bit of an issue that arose. But you know, I try to just keep calm, because I remembered that I was, you know, I don't want to get too involved in that, because for me it's just about getting the job done and keeping things moving smoothly. I think one of the difficult things was, of course, when you've got people coming ready to get their salad and you're running out, and you've got to then go underneath, grab the coleslaw out, spoon that out whilst people are waiting. Sometimes they have 2 in their hand, and I'm just very conscious that people might drop the plate whilst they're waiting there. So you've got all different ages coming up, and you know, I think the cutlery ran out at one point. So it's just all these little things, you know, when the system works. I did speak to Roger afterwards, and he said that it was actually better having the 4 people there, because usually I think they have 3. So having the 4 people there, he said he got through it a lot faster than usual, which obviously I'm glad to be of service. I think another thing as well was, you know, at first I was given a bit too much salad, or a bit too much, yeah, I think I was given a bit too much salad and not enough coleslaw, and I think they had more coleslaw than they did salad, so they were just telling me to manage the portions a bit better, which was just something I wasn't really, because then I started to feel a bit conscious, like, oh, am I giving too much lettuce there? Like, am I giving too much cucumber? And some people are saying, I don't like cucumber, but the lettuce is all mixed in with the cucumber, so then I'm like trying to pick out pieces of cucumber. It's just, yeah, all those little things that you don't necessarily think about with this line of work. So massive respect to the team at Divine Cuisine. They obviously do this on a very frequent basis, so massive respect and for keeping their integrity, really, particularly when you're dealing with a funeral setting. But yeah, so anyone looking to go into the catering industry, these are the sorts of things that would be good for you in terms of work experience, getting used to forward facing, being in kind of a high pressure environment. But as for me this week, that's it. And we're going to go job hunting next time round. Peace and love. Let's go job hunting.